They were found lying on the bloody floor, eyes wide open, but they were no longer human. One of them had torn his own chest open with bare hands. Another was giggling, even though his throat was shredded into ribbons. And all of them kept repeating the same words. Do not turn off the gas. This was not a nightmare. This was the Russian sleep experiment. It began right after the war. The Soviet Union wanted soldiers who could fight for weeks without rest. No sleep, no weakness, only obedience. 5 prisoners were chosen. They were told they would be free men if they could stay awake for 30 days. The chamber they entered had no windows. Only thick walls, microphones, and a small reinforced glass window. From the ceiling, gas was pumped in. Gas designed to keep them awake. For the first 3 days, things seemed normal. The men laughed. They sang songs. They whispered about what they would do with their freedom. But already on the 4th day, shadows appeared beneath their eyes. Their voices cracked. One man began pacing in circles. Another started crying without explanation. He said he felt something watching from the dark corners of the room. By the 5th day, suspicion spread. They accused each other of hiding secrets. They thought the guards were listening to their thoughts. The conversations grew quieter. Whispers instead of words, broken fragments barely caught by the microphones. By the 7th day, they no longer spoke to one another. Each man muttered alone, facing the walls or staring at the floor. The microphones recorded strange sentences, confessions to crimes that had never happened, descriptions of things that could not exist. It sounded less like speech and more like prayers. On the 10th day, laughter erupted. One prisoner began to laugh, sharp and broken. The laughter continued for hours until blood ran down his throat. Still he laughed, choking, gasping, forcing out sounds that no longer resembled joy. The others did not react. They only stared, eyes wide, unblinking. By the 15th day, screams filled the chamber, but it was not human screaming anymore. It was animal, raw. A man clawed at his own skin until his muscles were exposed. Another tore his fingernails away on the stone walls and continued carving words with torn flesh. The stench of blood and sweat filled the air. The researchers debated opening the chamber, but they were ordered to wait. They wanted to see what would happen. Every guard and scientist regretted that decision. When the door finally opened on the 20th day, the chamber was unrecognizable. The floor was coated in blood and pieces of flesh. A man lay dead in the corner, but the others were still alive but transformed. Their skin was shredded. Their intestines hung outside their bodies, yet they walked. They smiled. Their eyes glowed with madness. The soldiers rushed in to remove them. But the prisoners resisted with impossible strength. They ripped throats open with their teeth. They snapped bones with bare hands. They fought until the floor was slick with new blood. And still they begged for only one thing: the gas. They did not want freedom. They did not want help. They only wanted to stay awake. Doctors tried to restrain them. One prisoner broke out of leather straps, even with shattered wrists. Another bit a surgeon's throat until he collapsed lifeless. Sedatives barely worked. Every time they were forced into unconsciousness, they woke within seconds, screaming, thrashing, begging to return to the chamber. One prisoner whispered words that chilled the guards to the bone. "We are not sick. We are not insane. We are awake." The last survivor was a mangled wreck of flesh and bone. He could barely breathe. Yet he smiled at a researcher, blood dripping from his mouth. And he said, "When you sleep, you hide us in your dreams. We are the part of you that never rests. We are what is left when sleep is taken away." Moments later, his heart stopped. The experiment was buried in secrecy, files destroyed, witnesses silenced, but the gas was never lost. Some believe it is still hidden in remote laboratories, waiting for the next test. And if you stay awake for too long, if you hear whispers in the dark corners of your room, perhaps you will begin to understand. Sleep does not protect you from exhaustion. Sleep protects you from yourself.